Okay, in this video what we're going to do is we're going to discover the unit circle together. So the first thing I want you to do is just kind of look at this picture of the unit circle and look at the things that you see, and let's just talk about what you notice. So most of my classes are going to tell me they see a bunch of degrees. In fact, how many degrees do we see? 360. We see a bunch of fractions. Some have denominators of 6. Notice where they are. Some have denominators of 4. Notice that those are always in the middle. Some have denominators of 3. It looks like the 3 denominators are always closest to the y-axis. We also have a bunch of ordered pairs. We have square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2, square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, 1/2, square root of 3 over 2. And you'll notice it's actually these same numbers all the way around. All we're doing is changing the signs. So today we're going to spend some time discovering why the unit circle is the way it is. Some of the materials you're going to need today is you're going to need your pink triangles, and if you haven't cut them out, cut them out. You're going to need your blue triangles, and you should have 2 of those. And you're going to need your green triangles. So if you don't have these cut out yet, pause the video, cut them out real quick, and then start the video once you have them cut them out. You're also going to want a black pen or pencil, a red color, a green color, and a red color. So I'm using markers, and you use what works for you. All right, so here we go. So the first question I would ask you before you do the unit circle is how many degrees does a unit circle have? Well, a unit circle has 360 degrees all the way around. When we do the unit circle, we're always going to start right here in the right-hand side of the paper, and all of your positive angles are going to go counterclockwise. So let's write that up here at the top. So our positive angles are going to always go counterclockwise. And when we start working problems, this is going to become really important. So by counterclockwise, we mean we're going to start over here on the positive x-axis, and we're going to go this direction. And when we do negative angles, and we'll be doing those too, when we do negative angles, they're going to go clockwise. They're going to start from the same spot, and they're going to start right over here on the positive x-axis, and they're going to go this way. So positive angles are going to go counterclockwise, negative angles are going to go clockwise. So again, we just said that there are 360 degrees in a circle. So I'm going to start at 0 degrees and go all the way around until I get to 360. So if I asked you, would you agree that this is half of the circle? Hopefully you would say yes. And if this is half of the circle, that means it's also half of 360. So this is 180 degrees. I hope you can also agree that up top, this point up here would be half of the 180. So half of 180 would give me 90 degrees. So then we can say that each quadrant is worth 90 degrees. 0 plus 90 is 90. 90 plus 90 is 180. So to find this angle down here, we're going to take 180 and add 90 to it and get 270 degrees. These angles right here that I'm going to darken with my black pen or a black marker, these are called your quadrantal angles. They're called your quadrantal angles. Now what we're going to do is we're going to split these quadrants in half. And I'm going to use my blue marker now. So if I asked you if this is 90 degrees and I split this in half, hopefully you could tell me that half of 90 degrees is 45 degrees. So that means that from the first dot to the middle dot is 45. And from the middle dot to this one up top is also 45, because 45 plus 45 is 90. So if I wanted to find this middle dot, I'm going to add 45 to this 90. So what is 45 plus 90? 135. And then 135 plus 45 is going to give me 180. And then I'm going to add 45 to 180, and that's going to give me 225 degrees. And then if I add 225 and 45, I get 270. So if I add 45 to 270, I'm going to get 315. Okay, so let's recap again. The entire circle is 360 degrees. Half of 360 is 180. Half of 180 is 90. So each quadrant is worth 90 degrees total. So 90 plus 90 gives me 180. 180 plus 90 gives me 270. 270 plus 90 gets me back to 360. Then I said, let's just look at quadrant 1, and if I took half of 90, that would give me 45 degrees. So half of this is 45, plus 45 gives me 90. So I go to all my middle points, and I add 45 to get to the next point. Now what we're going to do is some Greek mathematician decided that the next two angles we need are 30 and 60 because they divide evenly into 360 and it makes all of our math nice and pretty. So the dots that are closest to the x-axis, I'm going to make red. And the dots that are closest to the y-axis, I'm going to make green. And you don't have to do this. I just know that we learn really well when we have colors involved, so I'm trying to involve the colors. So each one of these little pieces is going to be 30 degrees from the axis. So I'm going to add 30 degrees to 0 and get 30 degrees. If I add 30 to 30, I get 60. Because 60 plus 90 is 30. Okay? I'm going to add 30 again. So 90 plus 30 is going to give me 120. I'm going to add 30 to the 120. And I'm going to get 150. And 150 plus 30 is 180. We're going to keep this pattern going. 180 plus 30 is going to give me 210 degrees. 210 plus 30 is going to give me 240 degrees. 240 plus 30 gives me 270. 270 plus 30 gives me 300. And 300 plus 30 gives me 330. And 330 plus 30 gives me 360. Okay, recap one more time. The whole circle equals 360 degrees. Half of 360 is 180. Half of 180 is 90. 0 plus 90 is 90. 90 plus 90 is 180. 180 plus 90 is 270. 270 plus 90 is 360. From there, we went and split each quadrant in half. Half of 90 is 45. So I add 45 to 45 and I get 90. 90 plus 45 gives me 135. Remember, I'm doing the middles. 135 plus 45 gives me 180. 180 plus 45 gives me 225. 225 plus 45 gives me 270. 270 plus 45 gives me 315. 315 plus 45 gives me 360. From there, we went and added 30, starting with the first dot to the third dot. We skipped the middle. So 0 plus 30 is 30. 30 plus 60 is 90. 30 plus 30 is 60. 60 plus 30 is 90. 90 plus 30 is 120. 120 plus 30 is 150. We keep adding 30. 150 plus 30 is 180. 180 plus 30 is 210. 210 plus 30 is 240. 240 plus 30 is 270. 270 plus 30 is 300. 300 plus 30 is 330. And then we're back to 360. So this is how you label your angles in degrees. The next thing we're going to talk about is the circumference of a circle. So if I asked you what is the circumference of any circle, you would hopefully tell me that to find the circumference of a circle, you need to know the formula 2 pi r, where r is your radius. So 2 pi, well, what is the radius of a unit circle? Well, the radius of a unit circle is r equals 1. So this whole circle has a radius of 1, every direction that I go from the center. So I'm going to go plug a 1 in here. So 2 pi times 1 is 2 pi. That means the entire distance around my circle is equal to 2 pi. So 0 pi at the beginning, all the way again to the end is 2 pi. From there, we're going to do just like we did our degrees. We're going to take half of 2 pi. So the whole thing is 2 pi, half of 2 pi is 1 pi. So if the top half, if just the top half is equal to 1 pi, that means up here is equal to pi over 2. So each quadrant is equal to half a pi. 1/2 pi plus another half pi is a whole. So that's 1/2, 2/2. That would make the bottom down here 3 pi over 2. So 1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2. Okay. From there, we're going to look at just the top. And again, we're going to start with the same way we did earlier. What we're going to do is we're going to split this pi right down the middle like we did earlier. And let's look at how many pieces I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 parts of 1 pi. That means this first piece is 1 pi over 4 because it's 1 pi out of 4 pieces. That means this top piece is 2 pi over 4. Well, 2 pi over 4 reduces to 1/2. So 1 pi, 2 pi, this is 3. 3 pi's over 4. This one would be 4 pi over 4. Well, 4 over 4 reduces to pi. So 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. And if I keep that pattern going, this would be 5 pi over 4, 6 pi over 4. Well, 6 pi over 4 reduces to 3 pi over 2. So 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, 6 pi, 7 pi over 4, and 8 pi over 4. Well, 8 pi over 4 reduces to 2 pi. Okay, so one more time. After we figured out the whole thing was equal to 2 pi, then we went and just looked at the top, and we split it right down the middle, just like we did with our 45s, and I counted up my pi pieces. I had 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 1 pi. So 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, and then we kept the pattern going. It's going to work very similar with the next two. So I'm just going to focus on the slices of pie that I make with this red. I'm just looking at how many pieces of pie I have in this area. So 1 pi, 2 pies, 3 pies, 3 slices, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 slices. If I'm just looking at the red, we'll change it to black. It'll stand out better. Look at how many wedges you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 1 pie. So we're going to go around the circle and do the same thing. I have 6 slices. This is my first slice. So it's 1 pie out of 6. This slice up here, that's 1, that's 2. That's 2 pies out of 6. But that's going to reduce to pi over 3. Okay? So 1 pi, 2 pi, what is this going to be? Up top, that's going to be a 3 pi over 6. And what does 3 pi over 6 reduce to? 1/2 pi. So 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, that means this one's going to be 4 pi over 6, which reduces to 2 pi over 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5 pi over 6, and that one doesn't reduce. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 6 pi over 6. Well, 6 pi over 6 just reduces to pi. And we're going to keep this pattern going all the way around the circle. So if this was 6 pi over 6, the next one is 7 pi over 6, which doesn't reduce. And then we have 8 pi over 6, but that does reduce, and that reduces to 4 pi over 3. Okay, so that was 8. That means this one's going to be my 9 pi over 6. But that's going to reduce to 3 pi over 2. So 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 pi over 6, but that's going to reduce to 5 pi over 3. So one more time. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 pi over 6. Okay, so now, so far on the circle, we've done all the degrees, and we've done all these measurements around here with our pies, which we're going to call our radian measures. The last thing we have to do is we have to come up with our ordered pairs that go around the circle. Because what we can't forget is this is actually a graph with a circle drawn on it. And remember what our radius is. Our radius for this circle is r equals 1. So if the radius of this circle is 1, that means this ordered pair right here is 1, 0. And this ordered pair up top, if the radius is equal to 1, is 0, 1. And over here to the left, because I went left 1, this point over here is going to be negative 1, 0. And down here, because I went straight down, this ordered pair is 0, negative 1. Remember, these are called my quadrantal angles and my quadrantal ordered pairs. From there, we're going to learn something or review something that you did in geometry. And back in geometry, you learned about some special right triangles. And you learned about a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And you learned about a 45, 45, 90 triangle. And you learned that there was a special relationship. Now you'll notice the hypotenuse for all of these is equivalent to where our radius would be. So these are all equal to 1. So to find out the measurements for the sides of my triangle, I have to go solve this for x. So if I was going to solve this equation for x, we would find out that x equals 1/2. That means this side is going to be equal to 1/2. And this side over here is going to be 1/2 times the square root of 3, which is going to be the square root of 3 over 2. So what you need to do is you need to get your green triangle and your red triangle, and you need to label it just like you see right here. So I'm going to grab my green triangles and my red triangles. So the long part of the red triangle is square root of 3 over 2, and the short side over here is 1/2. I'm going to do that for both my reds. The long side is square root of 3 over 2, and the short side is 1/2. Remember, these right here, these are your hypotenuses, and these are equal to 1. So if you want to label that 1, you can. That might help you later on. Your green triangles, it's still a 30, 60, 90. I just changed the direction. So the long side is still square root of 3 over 2, and the short side is still 1/2. The long side is still square root of 3 over 2, and the short side is still 1/2. And the hypotenuses are still equal to 1. Okay? Now let's go look at our 45, 45 triangle. Let's go look at our blue ones. So again, we just said that the hypotenuse is equal to 1. So if I were to solve this for x, I get x equals 1 over the square root of 2. And when you were in Algebra 2, you should have learned that you can never, ever, ever have a radical in the denominator. So we're going to do what's called rationalizing it, which means you multiply top and bottom by the radical. 1 times the square root of 2 is going to give me the square root of 2. Square root of 2 over square root of 2 is going to give me square root of 4, which is 2. So the x sides are square root of 2 over 2. And they're both x, so they're identical. So on your 45, 45 triangle, your hypotenuse is equal to 1. And both the height and the base are equal to square root of 2 over 2. I'm going to label that for both of them. Your hypotenuse is 1. The height and the base are equal to square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to take these triangles that you cut out, and what I want you to do is I want you to assemble them like this. The red one on top, then the blue one, and then the green one, and I want you to take the brad I gave you and stick it right through the middle. I didn't happen to bring a brad home with me, so you're going to have to use this picture to help you, okay? Alright, so once you get that all done, you should have a circle. Again, I said the red on top like this, the blue one comes next, and the green one's on the bottom. And you're going to do that. It's going to look like this on one side. You're going to do the same thing on the other side, same order. You're going to put them all on top of each other. You're going to stick a brad in them so that it goes around and you want to move it. And I'll explain why in just a second. Okay, so it should look kind of like that. All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to look just at this first triangle. So if I wanted to know the ordered pair of this triangle right here, if I said how many right did I go and how many up did I go, you can tell by looking at your picture that I went right, the square root of 3 over 2, and I went up 1/2. So the ordered pair for this angle is square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. Now let's go look at the 45 triangle. So for your 45 triangle, I went right, the square root of 2 over 2, and I went up, the square root of 2 over 2. So that ordered pair, square root of 2 over 2, comma, square root of 2 over 2. Now let's go look at our 60-degree triangle. This time I went right 1/2 and up the square root of 2, 3 over 2. So 1/2, comma, square root of 3 over 2. So right now we know all of our angles for quadrant 1. When I come over here to look at quadrant 2, notice it's still a 60-degree triangle right here. But instead of going right 1/2, I went left 1/2 and up the square root of 3 over 2. So since I went to the left, this ordered pair up here is going to be negative 1/2, comma, square root of 3 over 2. Same concept right here, because I went left, square root of 2 over 2. It's going to be negative square root of 2 over 2, comma, square root of 2 over 2. And one more time. I went left, square root of 3 over 2, up 1/2. So this ordered pair is negative square root of 3 over 2, comma, 1/2. Okay, so hopefully right now you're noticing stuff in red both have the square root of 3 over 2 first and then 1/2. My blues, the ones in the middle, both have square root of 2 over 2 and square root of 2 over 2. And my green angles, the ones closest to the y, both have 1/2 and then square root of 3 over 2. And that's going to happen all the way around the circle. All you have to remember is that in your quadrants, certain variables are positive and certain variables are negative. So anytime you're in quadrant 1, you're going to have positive positives. Notice they're all positive. Anytime you're in quadrant 2, you're going to have negative x's, positive y's. Anytime you're in quadrant 3, it's going to be negative, negative. And anytime you're in quadrant 4, that should just be negative. Anytime you're in quadrant 4, you're going to be positive, negative. So when I move down here to this quadrant, remember it's going to be the exact same numbers, except they're both going to be negative. So I'll notice that every time I had a red one, the ones closest to the x's, my ordered pair is square root of 3 over 2, comma 1/2, but I have to make them both negative because I'm in quadrant 3. When I look at all the ones that are in the middle, all the blue ones, it's square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. So it's square root of 2 over 2, comma square root of 2 over 2, but I have to make them both negative. The ones in green, the ones that are closest to the y-axis, were 1/2 and square root of 3 over 2. 1/2 and square root of 3 over 2. But because I'm in quadrant 3, we have to make them both negative. The last quadrant, my x's should be positive and my y's should be negative. So again, the ones closest to the y, I have a 1/2 first and then the square root of 3 over 2. I'm going to make my y negative. The ones in the middle are square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. Again, make the y coordinate negative. And my last one, the ones that are closest to the x are always square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2, but make the 1/2 a negative. So you have just constructed the unit circle. We'll talk more about the unit circle and some ways that we're going to use it tomorrow. You have to have this unit circle memorized. So the more often you make it, the better you'll do. You're going to have several chances to make 100 on a quiz. You're going to get 3 opportunities. I'm going to give you your first chance this Thursday, another chance Friday, and another chance Monday. And on Monday, I'll take the best of the 3 grades and record it. So you'll have 3 chances to pull your grade up. I hope this video helped. Study hard, Wildcats.